Hi, my name is Michelle Smith and I'm a member of the United States National Softball Team. I've developed this video to teach you the basic mechanics of pitching for fast pitch softball. Just as you have seen, pitching is a dynamic movement that takes years to develop. My first lesson was just months after my 15th birthday, late by today's standards. I'm a good example of what the human body can endure when the mind, the will, and the soul desire to become an elite athlete. Learning to pitch takes a lot of patience, dedication, and hard work. Managing your time and prioritizing are important to be successful in all aspects of your life, not just pitching. By purchasing this video, you have made a decision that learning to pitch is one of those priorities. With this decision comes a great deal of responsibility and accountability, not only for yourself, but also for your team. Some of the peaks in my unfinished career have taken me to many beautiful countries throughout the world and have given me the opportunity to experience different cultures. Some of the brightest moments in my career include 2 national championships and 5 gold medals while proudly wearing our country's colors. Softball's brightest moments, however, are yet to come. Now that softball is an Olympic sport, the opportunities available are giving the sport, the coaches, and the athletes the respect we deserve. Every fan, athlete, coach, parent, manager, and family member involved in this game has an opportunity to feel the energy associated with the Olympics. It is also important for pitchers to accept the peaks and the valleys you will encounter during your career. The best advice I can give anyone when experiencing one of those valleys is summed up in one powerful word: perseverance. No matter how young or how old, beginner or advanced, you will have good days and bad days. This is something that is hard to accept at times, but learning to view those bad days as learning experiences will only help you to excel at a faster rate. Learn not only from your mistakes, but from others as well. Learn to excel like those who are more advanced than you, and soon you too will be at their level. In order to meet your full potential, you must become a student of the pitching motion. Learn the proper mechanics and understand why they are correct. With these fundamentals, create your own pitching style that makes you unique. Learn what works best for you. In this video, you will see that my pitching style is slightly different from what I teach. My pre-motion brings my arms overhead and then down slightly to my left side. I do this to stretch out my arm muscles and to help me start to rotate my hips slightly. This is the style that works best for me. Experiment to see what works best for you. Just as no 2 people are alike, neither are 2 pitchers. For right-handed pitchers watching this video, realize that as I teach you and show you the proper mechanics, I will be your mirror image off the television screen. Use this to your advantage and mirror the correct form with me as the video proceeds. I hope that this video is fun and exciting for you. It is an honor and a joy for me to teach you and to give something back to this great sport that has given me so much. When gripping the ball, make sure that the ball is not resting deep in the palm of the hand. The deeper the ball rests in the palm, the more wrist snap is inhibited. Therefore, it is important to keep the ball resting on the fingers with the pressure such that the ball cannot be removed from your hand. Yet not grip so tightly that your knuckles turn white. I have a large hand and long fingers, so I grip the ball mainly with my index and middle fingers. For pitchers with smaller hands, I recommend using 3 fingers. In either case, the thumb should rest on the seam opposite of the fingers. Whenever possible, keep your fingers on the seams. This will enhance ball control at release point. Experiment with the use of 2 seams versus 4 seams. I prefer to use the 2 seams that lie close together. I feel as though I get a better grip and tighter rotation on the ball. Younger pitchers with smaller hands may benefit more from using four seams. See which way works best for you. The initial stance of the pitcher on the mound should be relaxed and comfortable. The feet should be positioned on the rubber about shoulder width apart. This will promote balance and allow for optimal drive into the stride. If the feet are positioned too close together or too far apart, balance will diminish and the range of motion of the legs will be shortened, decreasing the amount of force that can be generated. For left-handed pitchers, the left foot should be the forward foot with the arch resting comfortably against the front side of the rubber. The back foot, or right foot, should toe up against the back of the pitching rubber. For right-handed pitchers, the right foot should be the forward foot, and the left foot should toe up against the back of the pitching rubber. The next part of the stance is learning to use your body weight to build momentum into the pitch. The laws of physics state that a body at rest will remain at rest until a force acts upon it. In other words, an object that has momentum will be moved easier and with less effort than a stationary object because it has already gained momentum and overcome inertia. Inertia is defined as a property of matter that retains its state of rest. Let's compare the stationary broad jump to the running broad jump. When I'm standing still at the start line, I don't have the capability to jump very far. When I overcome inertia and gain momentum before the start, as in the running broad jump, my momentum allows me to jump further and with more power than when I start in a stationary position. Now let's apply those same laws to the pitching rubber. With no momentum built up, my stride is non-explosive. With gained momentum, I explode with more power into the stride. This is the same principle we use by shifting our body weight from our front foot to the back foot and again to the front foot as we enter into the pitching motion. With this gain of momentum, we are able to generate much more power into the pitch. A second, less complicated movement for beginning pitchers is to start with the weight on the back foot and shift it forward to the front foot before entering the movement. You may find it is easier to learn the timing of this movement. However, the greater momentum is gained using the first method mentioned. While the lower body is starting movement to gain momentum, the upper body, especially the arms, are joining in the start of the pre-motion as well. I recommend that beginning pitchers start with a little circle as pre-motion for the upper body. It is just as important for the upper body to be moving before entering the main portion of the motion as it is for the lower body. Many young pitchers have a tendency to start with their arms at their sides and enter into the motion from this position. I recommend bringing the arms together as the weight is initially transferred from the front foot to the back foot. Once the hands come together, they should continue in a small circle in the same direction as the windmill circle motion. The hand should exit the small circle in conjunction with the weight being transferred from the back foot to the forward foot as the start of the motion is entered. The hands exit directly into a smooth transition with the main big circle of the windmill motion. This allows for a fluid, continuous motion that builds maximum power and velocity as it is uninterrupted and efficient. After we have achieved our gained momentum with proper weight transfer and body lean, we enter into the stride. The stride direction should be on a straight line of force directly toward the catcher and home plate. Pitching is a linear event, so we should always stride out on a straight line of force that travels directly from the pitching rubber toward home plate. The stance on the rubber is what's called the closed position. Once I stride off the rubber, I want to get into the open position. The hips and the shoulders should open together. With the hips in the open position, I can generate more force and allow for my arm to remain in the same plane or line of force through the release phase. We will talk more about that later. Anytime we cross over or do not open onto the line of force as shown here, we are locking our hips and decreasing the power we already have in our body. The stride leg should explode forcefully out and over an imaginary box. By striding over this box, we will drive harder out of the pre-motion. If a pitcher is kicking through this imaginary box, as depicted here, then a loss of power and explosion will result in a decreased velocity of the pitch. We want to drive hard off of the pitching rubber. We should never look as if we are walking off of the pitching rubber. This would tell us that we are not using our legs efficiently and losing power. The muscle groups in the legs are the strongest in the body, and when used correctly, add tremendous power and explosion to the pitch. The stride leg should land on a straight line of force with the foot slightly angled. With an efficient lower body and explosive stride, the foot will straighten out as the length of the stride increases. As in my case, my foot has straightened out as I have developed and matured as a pitcher over the years. One thing we should be careful of, however, is planting the stride leg directly in the open position. Doing this causes the hips to lock and does not allow the hips and the knee to close correctly, which in turn increases the risk of injury. When the stride leg plants against the ground, the knee should be slightly bent. We want to drive hard against our opposite side to build force within our own body by which at a later point in the motion we will throw against. For example, left-handed pitchers want to throw against a firm right side. Right-handed pitchers against a firm left side. This is called throwing against a hard opposite side, or what is also known as blocking. Blocking is used in events such as the javelin throw, the shot put, and the high jump, where the athlete creates great forces within their own bodies by which they throw or jump against. As pitchers, we use the same technique, and the more forces we build within our own bodies, the greater the forces we can transfer through the release point into the ball, resulting in an increased velocity of the pitch. Once again, it is important to remember that the stride should be explosive with an aggressive length that feels comfortable. By this I mean that when a pitcher overstrides, the body weight will be thrown backward, creating an awkward feeling. The legs, as mentioned earlier, are the pivotal muscle group used and should tire well before the arm during a pitching workout. If the workout is not taxing your legs, then chances are you aren't using them as aggressively as you could. As the transition of the arms from the little circle into the big circle, or the actual windmill, takes place, the body should remain relaxed. It is important that the windmill circle be as big as possible. If the shoulders tense up, the motion will tighten and the big circle will shorten, resulting in a loss of power. The arm should be straight without a bend in the elbow. The circle should take a path directly to the side of the body. If the circle path travels overhead or outside the plane of the body, new directional or angular forces will come into play. Once again, the laws of physics will provide the answer to the problems resulting from the pitching arm traveling outside the plane of the body. The law states that for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. Therefore, if the action is the pitching arm traveling over the head, then the equal and opposite reaction will result in the arm traveling into the release point zone away from the body, directly opposite of where it was overhead. The only way this would not happen is if corrections were made during the downswing of the windmill motion. As you could see, this would only detract from the power and velocity we wish to gain. Another important point is that the arm should actually travel very fast through the circle. It should actually be a blur. If you can see the path of the arm clearly, chances are there isn't enough velocity in the big circle being produced. Another important aspect of the upper body movement during the windmill pitch is the glove arm. As with the biomechanics of many athletic movements, pitching also uses the opposite arm to pull and generate power for the body. The overhand throw also uses the glove arm to point to the target. As the throwing arm is drawn back, the glove arm draws the upper body forward by blocking and pulling inward to the body to allow the opposite arm to throw against the resistance the glove arm has generated. This is exactly the case in the underhand throw as well. As the hands exit the little circle upon entering the beginning of the big circle, both arms are raised towards home plate. It is important to open the shoulders at this point. The shoulders and the hips open together, as mentioned earlier. I personally like to think about reaching out with my glove arm and trying to place my glove on my catcher's head. Once my arm is extended, at a later point in the motion, I pull my glove arm in and downward toward my body to create resistance for my left arm to throw against. There truly is a great amount of power and energy in the glove arm and adds velocity to the pitch. The position of the head during the pitch should be steady and remain straight forward facing the target throughout the entire pitch. It is important that there is not excessive movement of the head because of the possibility of the loss of eye contact with the target. There is, however, one point during the motion when it is normal for the eyes to lose visual contact with the target. At the beginning of the pre-motion, after the sign has been received from the catcher, it is normal for the eyes to come off the target and focus on the ground at the point where the stride leg will plant. Once this visual contact is made, the eyes then move and focus back again on the target. This movement takes place at a time the stride leg and both arms explode into the beginning phase of the motion. I too look down at my stride point and then pick up my target again. It is not necessary for all pitchers to do this, yet not abnormal. As you have just seen, there are a lot of different movements going on in the beginning phase. It is important to realize that if the beginning portion of the motion is wrong, the end of the motion will most certainly be wrong. Because of the quick and explosive nature of the underhand pitch, there is little time for corrections to be made during the actual movement. Therefore, it is important for the beginning phase to be biomechanically correct in order to achieve the highest level of success. Lori Sipple and I have the same views on the importance of the basic form. I asked Lori, the #1 pitcher for Team Canada, to share her opinion on the basic form with us.
I think a lot of times coaches and pitchers try to throw junk pitches way before the groundwork has been set. The groundwork that really needs to be set is the kids need to have a good foundation of good pitching mechanics as well as mastery of the zone. Once they've mastered the zone where they're able to throw fastballs in all quadrants of the zone, then they have great groundwork to go ahead and start throwing junk pitches. If they can throw hard, inside, and low, then they're probably ready to start throwing drop balls. If they can throw high and master the upper quadrants of the zone, then they're ready to throw rise balls. So once they've mastered the zone, they can throw strikes to all quadrants, then I think they're ready to start throwing their junk pitches.
The power position phase finds us in a stance looking like the letter X. The beginning phase, as you may have noticed by now, puts us in a position to fully extend both arms in opposite directions and both legs driving explosively into the power position. It is important that all the body parts are fully extended in order to be efficient and allow the muscles full range of motion to work through. The longer you can apply a force to an object, the more power you can transfer into that object. The first movements from the X position into the power position phase are inward toward the body. Basically, what we have done is gone from a stance where our energy is centered in our body, then extended that energy outward through our lengthened arms and legs so we can bring it back to the center point or release point with even more energy and power than when we started. The glove arm should be pulled inward and downward to the body. The throwing arm should continue on the downswing of the big circle. At this point, it is natural for the elbow to have a slight bend in it. The drive leg or back leg will continue to thrust forward into the already blocked lead leg. The most important aspect of the power position is for the hips to remain in the open position and for the legs to pinch together. By this I mean that the drive leg or back leg should pinch up into the lead leg. This allows the hips to stay in the open position throughout the release point while pinching the knees together. Maximal power and energy from the body can be transferred through the ball. By thinking about the front of the back knee pinching forward to the back of the front knee, the hips will remain in the open position. As you will notice, there should be no distance between the knees. If the knees do not fully pinch together, then there will be a loss of energy and power. Any separation or distance between the knees basically means there is a loss of energy that might have been gained. When the knees do have separation between them, chances are the hips have rotated around or acted in what I call the swinging gate method. The hips act like a swinging gate and rotate around off the center line. As you can see from this picture, not only is power lost, but the release point has moved approximately 1.5 feet off the center line. Right-handed pitchers who have the problem of throwing low and inside to right-handed batters, and left-handed pitchers low and inside to left-handed batters, more than likely will have this problem. Once again, when done correctly, the hips slide through open into the released position. The knees pinch together and the arm travels down through the released position without being interrupted. When looking from the view of the catcher, the legs look as though they are in the figure 4 position. As you can see by this demonstration, the pinching method leaves the release on line, whereas the swing gate method moves the release point well offline. The upper body movement from the power position looks like this. The glove arm is pulling downward into the body, and the throwing arm moves into the body as well. The upper part of the throwing arm moves into the body and decelerates, thereby accelerating the lower part of the throwing arm, thereby increasing the velocity of the pitch. This movement creates a whipping motion. If the hips and the shoulders rotate early or act as the swinging gate, then the release will become a pure flexion movement, which is subsequently much slower. Again, we want the whipping motion, the hips in the open position so we can throw across the body. The ball is released when the wrist is snapped forward after the proper timing of the power in the body being transferred from the body through the release phase into the ball. The release point should be located in the thigh area of the leg after the arm has passed the hips. If the arm and the hips come through together, or the hips first and then the arm, power will be lost or unable to be transferred efficiently. The release phase is the accumulation of all the body's forces coming together at one split second during a short distance to project the ball toward home plate. If the release phase is long and over a large distance, it will be slow. Remember, explosive snaps create velocity. As you have just seen in the release phase, the correct form is important to have good velocity and control. The wrist snap in the windmill motion is but one part of the delivery that adds velocity to the pitch. It is my opinion that the whipping motion of the lower arm is where the majority of the velocity is gained. With the power and energy generated from the rest of the body, even the smallest body type can produce a pitch with incredible velocity using a biomechanically correct motion. The question of which should be learned first, speed or control, is answered by first learning proper mechanics, then both speed and control will follow. Along with the importance of the pitcher comes the catcher. I've always believed a good catcher makes a great pitcher. The relationship between the two positions is by far the most important in the game. I'm lucky enough to have one of the best catchers in the world to work with. Michelle Gramacki is a member of Team USA. I ask her to share the catcher's point of view on the basic mechanics of pitchers.
I feel it's important for the pitcher to have good mechanics for the fact that good mechanics means they have good control. And if I can set up inside low, let's say, if they have good control, I know the pitch is going to come inside low. And it also helps with the defense. They know how to play it. They know what pitch is coming. Like I said, all around, you know exactly where it's going to be.
After release, the body encounters many forces as a result of the energy built up during the motion. These deceleration forces are actually some of the most harmful effects of the pitching motion on the body. Therefore, the follow-through is extremely important in displacing these negative forces as to prevent injury. An abrupt stop puts tremendous stress on the muscles, tendons, and ligaments. By allowing for a smooth transition between the release and an end point in the motion, the body's energy is displaced much more effectively. The follow-through positioning of the lower body should involve the drive leg or back leg squaring up to the catcher, allowing the athlete to be in a good defensive position. The upper body, primarily the throwing arm, should finish the whipping motion of the release in a relaxed manner. For pitchers who have a tendency for their arm to stop short in the hip region, I suggest they finish by touching their earlobe. Even though this is unnatural, once the arm is trained to reach up smoothly and touch the ear, the movement will eventually become natural at the end of the motion, and the follow-through will be relaxed and in an upward direction, displacing the deceleration forces effectively. The direction of the follow-through is important because it is on the path of the pitch. Try to avoid following through across the body. This could result in control problems. If the follow-through is too perfect or the arm is too straight without a bend in the elbow, chances are the pitcher is scooping the pitch instead of whipping it. Lastly, realize that the pitcher becomes another middle infielder once the ball is released. Help yourself out and become the best defensive athlete you can be. In turn, this will allow you to protect yourself as you become the closest defender to the batter after release. Drills are an important tool when used correctly for learning the proper windmill motion. I recommend using drills to eliminate those trouble spots in the basic pitching form. The following 5 drills are some of my favorites and work different aspects of the motion. With the following drills, work 1 to 2 sets of 25 repetitions before each practice. These drills will serve as a great warm-up while helping the body learn the proper movements involved in the basic form. One word of caution, however. Be careful not to overwork drills and create bad habits in other areas of the body. Drills are great when used in moderation. The first drill is the snap drill. While in the open position, keep the upper arm in tight against the body, allowing the forearm to whip down across the body. This drill is used for increasing snap speed, timing, and control. The second drill is the stride drill. This drill should start as if the pitcher was on the pitching rubber. Work on the momentum transfer and leg drive into the stride on a straight line of force. This drill should increase explosiveness with the legs. The third drill is the pinching drill. This drill should start on the direct line of force to the target. Start in the open position with the weight on the back leg. The front leg should be off the ground. Bring the throwing arm into the release zone, whipping and snapping the ball to the target while pinching the legs properly to transfer energy. The hip should stay in the open position. I still use this drill in my warm-up. The fourth drill is the harness drill. Using a harness as shown, work on the explosiveness of the body throughout the entire motion. This drill is good for explosive leg movements and overall endurance of the entire pitching motion. As the body fatigues, there is a tendency to lean forward. Be sure to stay upright during the drill. The final drill is the defensive drill. Starting in the proper position, go through the entire motion pitching the ball to the target. Have someone hit or roll you a ground ball shortly after release. Field the ball, use the proper leg work and rotation to make the throw to first base. Practice this to every base as well as home plate. This drill works on improving defensive abilities and squaring into the proper defensive position. I hope that over the last 35 minutes I have presented the mechanics of this intricate motion in an understandable manner. The pitching motion is something that takes the body years to fully comprehend. Try not to expect yourself or your athletes to grasp every concept in a single practice. Pick and choose which components of the motion are holding up the total development and specifically work on those areas. Try not to fix every problem in just one practice. The mind is easily overwhelmed, and this will lead to frustrations for both the coach and the athlete. By allowing time for the body to learn the movements, muscle memory will develop and progress will take place at a much faster rate. Use your mind to comprehend the movements and your body to perform them. I've made it a habit to train my body and my mind to reach far beyond and exceed its own limitations. In turn, these habits have made me what I've developed into today. John Dryden once stated, "First we make our habits, and then our habits make us." I encourage you to apply the concepts I have presented to you in this video. Take time to set goals for yourself and share those goals with your parents, coaches, and teammates. It's important to realize that not every athlete's dream is to play in college, become an All-American, or represent their country. Either way, relax or die hard serious, it's okay. This game, at all levels, should remain fun, because it is just that, a game. Remember that very few people get anywhere without the help of others. I am blessed to have met and to have been helped by so many people wanting to share their talents with me. I hope that I have shared some of my talents with you, enabling you to become a better person and more advanced pitcher. Train hard, and I'll see you in the circle.